I'm Ray Stendall with Stendall Realty Group, and I want to have an honest conversation about something a lot of homeowners in Carlsbad, Encinitas, Del Mar, Solana Beach, and Rancho Santa Fe are thinking about right now: going FSBO, selling your home yourself to save the commission. It's a reasonable instinct. The commission is real money. In this market, I completely understand why sellers look at that number and wonder if they can cut it out. But here's what I've learned after spending over 20 years analyzing real estate markets in coastal North County. The commission is the most visible number in the transaction. It's almost never the most important one. Let's start with what you're actually saving. Most sellers think going FSBO saves 5 to 6%, but about 75% of FSBO sellers still end up paying the buyer's agent anyway. They have to. 91% of buyers in this market are represented, and if you're not willing to compensate that agent, most of them won't bring their buyer to your door. So the real saving is the listing side only, about 2.5 to 3%. On a $1.5 million Carlsbad home, that's roughly $40,000. Now here's where California's own data comes in. Zillow studied off-MLS home sales in California specifically and found that those homes averaged a 3.7% price penalty compared to properly listed and marketed properties. On that same $1.5 million home, 3.7% is $55,500. The seller isn't saving the commission. They're coming out behind before a single other variable is counted. And the variables matter. Because here's something most sellers don't think through until it's too late. When you go FSBO and still pay the buyer's agent, you just funded a professional negotiator who is entirely focused on getting the best possible outcome for the buyer. That buyer's agent knows the California residential purchase agreement inside and out. They know how to write an offer that looks strong on price while quietly recovering value through inspection credits, closing cost concessions, extended contingency periods, and appraisal protection language. You paid for that expertise, but only one side is using it. There's also the forms problem that nobody talks about. When a buyer's agent submits an offer, they're working from California Association of Realtors, standard forms they use every single week. Some FSBO sellers hire a real estate attorney to handle the paperwork, and that's better than nothing. But attorneys typically don't use CAR forms. They draft their own contracts or use generic legal documents. Now you're negotiating across two sets of documents that weren't built to work together. The buyer's agent knows every clause in their forms. Your attorney is working from something different entirely. And on the liability side, a licensed broker carries errors and omissions insurance tied specifically to your transaction. Attorneys carry malpractice insurance tied to their general legal practice. Different scope. In California, some attorneys are actually required by law to disclose they carry no malpractice coverage at all. Research shows 71% of all real estate litigation involves at least one unrepresented party. California's disclosure requirements, the transfer disclosure statement, the natural hazard disclosure, mellow roost disclosures, fire hazard zone requirements that were updated in 2025. All of them apply whether you have an agent or not. Miss any of it and your liability follows you for 2 to 3 years after closing. Now let me tell you how I actually price a home in this market, because this is where the difference really shows up. In Rancho Santa Fe, price per square foot varies from $416 in one subcommunity to over $2,200 in another, within the same zip code. Encinitas shows similar variation between Cardiff, Leucadia, Olive & Hain, and Old Encinitas. A Zillow estimate in these neighborhoods can be off by 10 to 15% in either direction. On a $2 million home, that's a $200,000 to $300,000 error before the first showing. So I don't rely on one source. I use multiple paid AI models to analyze carefully selected comparable sales, not just any solds in a radius, but properties chosen because they match your home in the ways that actually matter to buyers. I pull pending transaction trend data for homes like yours in your specific zip code so I can see where the market is going, not just where it's been. I run buyer demand reports that identify price cliff points, specific thresholds where the number of active buyers searching drops sharply. List your home just above one of those cliffs, and you've eliminated a significant portion of your buyer pool before anyone schedules a showing. I cross-reference 8 different automated valuation models at the same time because each one uses different data inputs, and the spread between them tells me where the pricing uncertainty actually lives. I factor in the Case-Shiller Index for directional context on where the broader market is moving relative to your specific submarket. But here's the thing, the sources aren't what make the difference. Any agent with the right subscriptions can access similar data. What matters is the synthesis. All of that analysis gets built into a single positioning story for your home. The right price, aimed at the specific buyer profile, most likely to pay full price for exactly what you have, structured to create competitive tension from day one, because competitive tension is what produces multiple offers, and multiple offers are what produce top dollar. No FSBO seller runs this process. Most agents don't either. So here's the bottom line. The side-by-side math on a $1.5 million Carlsbad home in an HOA community shows an agent-represented seller netting approximately $1,406,550 after commission and closing costs. The FSBO seller, using California's documented price penalty, nets approximately $1,388,442 after their direct costs and closing costs. That's an $18,000 difference at the best case FSBO scenario. Miss on pricing or marketing by 10%, and that gap grows past $100,000. The commission the seller wanted to save was $40,950. If you're thinking about selling in Carlsbad, Encinitas, Del Mar, Solana Beach, or Rancho Santa Fe, I'd like to show you the actual numbers for your specific home, not a generic estimate. The full net proceeds picture, built on the same analysis I just described. Call me directly at 85887708484 or visit StendallRealtyGroup.com. I'm Ray Stendall with Stendall Realty Group. The commission math gets a lot more interesting when you run all of it.